Hello everyone, so today I am here with the I Messed Up book tag, which was created by Read Like Wildfire. I have left the link to her video in the description. I wasn't tagged for this, but I just felt like doing it because it seemed like fun and the questions are just kind of amusing because they're about stuff that you messed up in books. So let's go on with it and see what happens. Number 1 is a character description that you misread and thus imagine the character differently. Doesn't happen often, but it did sort of happen with Katniss from the Hunger Games. The reason for that is because olive tone can be interpreted to me in so many ways. I don't think authors realize that, but there's all sorts of different colors within that realm. So I did imagine her olive tone, but for some reason in my mind that said to me that she was kind of Mediterranean looking. Her sister's blonde and she has light colored eyes, and I guess that made sense to me for that. But then I realized when there was the big hoopla about them casting, you know, a Caucasian actress instead of maybe a mixed race person for the Hunger Games, that wait, she's mixed race, not unlike myself. I didn't see this because I realized that some of my, like, you know, cousins and other people that are also mixed race in my family have blonde hair. I totally could have popped some gray contacts in and gone as Katniss for Halloween for I don't know how many years. You know what? It encouraged me to go and do more research on the novel and more research on the social things that are talked about in Hunger Games, so it actually didn't turn out to be a totally bad thing that I made that mistake. Number 2 is a character name that you've been pronouncing wrong. I usually am pretty good with names in books. I'm terrible with authors' names. I can't pronounce an author's name to save my life, but characters, not too bad. But I did sort of pronounce Smaug's name wrong in The Hobbit because before last year I hadn't actually read The Hobbit with my own eyes. It had been read to me by a teacher in grade school, and I'm pretty sure when she read it she pronounced Smaug the dragon as Smaug the dragon. So it wasn't until I was an adult and the movies for The Hobbit, which I still haven't seen them all because I'm lame, that's another mistake that I've made, until those started to come out that I realized that it was pronounced Smaug. So by the time that I actually read the book with my own eyes last year, I was pronouncing his name correctly, so it all worked out by the time I read it. Number 3 is an overused trope that is your guilty pleasure. I love a good chosen one book when, like, the person is downtrodden and then they discover they have like epic powers or something such and such of that nature, and then they have to like save the world / planet. I love forbidden love as well. I just love when they can't be together but they must be, but they can't. I do love a love square. I'm not big on love triangles, but I do love a love square. Then everybody has a chance of ending up with somebody, like nobody's left out, and that sort of works for me. So those are kind of my tropes of guiltiness, but I'm not really guilty about loving them because I refuse to be. Number 4 is a cliche character type that you prefer in films and television more than in books. I think that would probably have to be the anti-hero kind of archetype. I do love TV shows and movies about anti-heroes, but I can't say that I've read that many books about them, so I'm thinking that must not be something that I'm inspired to read. Number 5, a word or phrase that you learned from its use in a book. And you can guess there's a ton because I talked about last week how much I love a good vocabulary word. Here are like my top 4 off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure I learned the word sanguine from a book. I can't remember which book, but I particularly like sanguine because it has 2 meanings. It can either mean reddish or it can mean cheerful and outgoing. Recently, I learned the word ululation or ululate from the Mortal Instruments. That just means either a howl or like a really like shrill cry of like mournfulness. That's not what it says in the dictionary, but that's the general idea. And the word palaver, I believe I'm pronouncing that right, which means basically idle talk. That I learned from the first Dark Tower novel. I believe I also learned taciturn from Pride and Prejudice, which means inclined to silence or reserved in speech. You know, basically Mr. Darcy. So those are my top 4 off the top of my head. There's a ton, because, you know, you can't know every single big word in existence. Number 6 is, have you ever not read or not finished a book that was required reading for school? Up until 9th grade, that did not happen. I actually liked a lot of the assigned reading. There wasn't one that I can think of that I didn't enjoy. Then 9th grade hit, and I just don't feel like they had us reading very good books. I did kind of finish Lord of the Flies because my mom read it to me. She could just tell that it was not my writing style. So technically, I didn't read that one with my own eyeballs, but I guess it did finish it. It was kind of like my own personal audiobook. However, one book that I did not finish was Follow the River. I had to even look up the title of this book because I couldn't even remember the title of the book. That's how little I cared about Follow the River. I didn't think the writing style was particularly good, but I still probably would have stuck it out and read it for school, if not for the fact that I checked it out at the library, and because it was on the reading list, they wouldn't let you renew the book, so I didn't want to have to pay extra to just keep the book out. So I just turned it back into the library, and I couldn't find a copy anywhere of this book because everybody was reading it for the school at the time. So that's one reason why I didn't finish. But the other reason was I stopped going to public school and switched to going to correspondence school right before the end of maybe the first or second quarter of 9th grade. So thus, I didn't have to finish the book because I was no longer in the English class because I was going to a totally different school, and I was like, thank God, because I do not want to read this Follow the River book. Number 7 is, have you ever skipped a section of a book that was in the point of view of a character that you weren't interested in? And I can't say that I have. I might have scanned it, like just kind of like read it really fast, but I don't think I've ever just totally skipped it because I hate like not knowing a section of the book. And lastly, there's number 8, which is, have you ever canceled social plans so that you can read? I can't say that I go that many places, and I usually plan way ahead what kind of thing or event I'm gonna go to. So I can't say that I've canceled plans just to read. I just actually have time to read because I've made plans so far in advance that, you know, I've planned my reading around events. That was the I Messed Up book tag. I hope you enjoyed hearing about all my bookish mistakes. And that's all, folks. I will see you next week. Thank you for watching. Bye!